Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Conversations for Our Time. This is podcast 47 with the Quiet Sun team, George and John. This is part three. We're going to continue with human consciousness, and we'll just bounce that around with everything that we're learning, and with the Neville Goddard stuff as well. We're doing this every single day. We are learning how to do this every single day, but it's also we got to be careful about continually learning this stuff. We already know this stuff because we have to be careful because it's a funny game, consciousness and creating our reality. Because if we're constantly doing something, we're constantly creating that thing at the same time. So we're remembering. We're not just creating. We're remembering who we are. We're remembering how to create. And these books, Never Goddard, or whatever teachings you have that you listen to on YouTube, they're just reminding us they are reflections of us, and they are reminding us of how to create the reality that we want to live in. Instead of doing it unconsciously, which is what we become masters of our own lives, we want to do it the way that it was meant to be, consciously, conscious manifestation. You know, we're always going to be learning because we're always going to be realizing, it's self-realization, but we also don't want to fall in the trap. This is what I'm learning. Then John's gonna relay what he's been learning. If we constantly say to ourselves that we have blocks, yeah, we're going to create experiences in our lives that's going to show us our blocks. We have done this all our lives. And it's time to, for me anyway, I can't speak for anybody else, it's time to stop and see in your own reality, in your own consciousness, that you have no more blocks. Everything that you've ever wanted is here now. And this is the way that I'm doing it. This is the way that I'm learning it, and it's fascinating. Everybody's going to have their own ways in doing this. I've stopped saying to myself, I've got unconscious blocks, because I don't want to create any more unconscious blocks and have that as my experience. I truly have come to know that everything that we've ever wanted is in the here and now. Everything unfolds in the present moment. It unfolds through us, through me, as the one supreme being. I'm the individual unit of consciousness that comprises the one supreme being. And we're all part of this. It's a reflection, just like the word universe. You know, it's not just universe, one song. You break down the word uni, and it is saying you and I. And it's beautiful. All of this is beautiful. And the more you say these things, this beautiful life is beautiful, everything is working out perfectly. You know, you are creating that experiences. You're still going to get challenges on the way, but is it going to knock you? Is it going to throw you off balance? Or are you going to shrug it off and get back into your center? So this is what I've been focusing on. And it's been a journey, you know, but I'm also the destination. So how you doing, John?
Yeah, all good. Thanks, George. Thanks for the intro. I suppose, well, I know that I've been on my own journey. Me and George are obviously supporting each other through this transformation. And, you know, it all comes back to the concept we have of ourselves. If you believe and know that you deserve whatever it is you believe and know you deserve, and you practice on imagining that. I mean, our imagination, the creative force behind this body, is everywhere. You know, when a rose grows as a rose, I'm looking at the rose in my garden at the moment. The rose doesn't think it's anything else other than the rose. Now, anyone who's listening to this, just think about that, allow that idea to go into your being. A rose doesn't try to be anything. Well, it doesn't try to be anything. It's just the rose, right? It produces blooms, and we can enjoy those blooms, and we appreciate the rose as a rose, depending on your knowledge. But you don't call a rose a buttercup or a sunflower. A rose is a rose. It has the characteristics of a rose. It has the scent of a rose. It looks like a rose. It follows the seasons like a rose. So we can apply this principle to our way of being. Eckhart Tolle says there's an underlying beingness to everything in nature. Now, I believe the issue or the distortion that we have is that we believe we're something other than nature. Everything expressed in the reality that we see is an expression of the universe, God, Buddha, whatever you want to call it, divinity. Where humans have obviously started to lose sight of this is due to our disconnection to nature. This is a fundamental thing. Most philosophers, ancient civilizations, all had a very deep connection to nature. We've mentioned on this on the previous parts of this particular concept that we're trying to build. Because if you believe that you are just a physical form, you lose all your power. Yeah. You're trying to act upon your environment through your physical, your speech, your thoughts, your actions. You're trying to manipulate the environment. Now, we've been trying to do this for many thousands of years, certainly in the last few hundred years, is human beings have tried to force their environment to suit their concept of themselves. Yeah. So if we have a very mechanistic way of thinking, well, that will be translated into our environment. We'll try to force that onto the environment. But if you don't understand the patterns and the cycles of nature and how things appear, disappear, reappear in a different form, if you think about water, water will change depending on, where it's at, what are the different things that are acting upon it. But water also then changes its environment. So when we synergize with nature, we start to see the patterns and the cycles. And we understand that everything has a purpose. So human beings' purpose, in my opinion, is to create the life that we want through an understanding of how it all works together, how the universe actually functions. So this whole manifestation thing is, we can go many different ways with this. But, I wanted to quote something from Neville Goddard's book. And this is the collection of all his different books. But this particular book is I Know My Father. So this is from chapter 10, Be Ears That Hear. So as long as man or humans looks for the cause of expression in places other than the expressor, i.e., themselves, he looks in vain. For thousands of years, man has been told, I am the life and light of the world. No manifestation cometh unto me save I draw it. So whether we're conscious or unconscious when we're manifesting stuff, whatever we tell ourselves will. So we have a thought, right? And then we have an inner dialogue with ourselves. That inner dialogue will then alter our behavior. It will alter how we interact with the environment. Yeah. So if we try to resist or we try to force, that is coming from the concept that we have of ourselves in interaction with the environment. So when our behavior changes or the way we act changes, it then creates behavioral patterns. And those behavioral patterns send out vibrations to the environment, and the environment responds as a mirror to those behavioral patterns. So if we believe that there's no point in life, all we're going to see is things that basically reflect that thought or the idea or the behavior that we have. And this is where we get caught in a trap, because we then start being ungrateful for everything that we do have because we're focusing on the things that we don't have. And that is, one of the issues that we have as a race is, especially in the Western world. I was listening to Elmer O'Locker early, and I wanted to kind of bring this up because gratitude is probably one of the most powerful forces that we have to change the idea we have of ourselves. So if we live in a world of lack, say you only earn a certain amount of money a year and you want to earn more money, but you're focused on the difference between how much you're earning and what you're not earning, you're focused on what you don't have. But when you focus on what you do have, I earn £2,000 a month. Wow, look what that gives me. I can have food in my belly. I can have spare time to do the things that I love to do. I can spend time with my family. I'm able to walk. I can use my body to use my job. I can use my mind to use my job. I have eyes to be able to appreciate my environment. Yeah. So when we focus on those things, the universe has no choice but to respond to give us more of what we're focusing on, what we're appreciating, what we're being grateful for. And this is all over the internet, the whole gratitude thing. All spiritual teachers would have focused on what they do have. When I look out into my garden, I can see maybe 100 different plants growing, right? And I've helped to create that. I mean, obviously the plants are doing their thing, right? But I've thought, where do I want this plant to go? Where do I think it would be happy? And we can use the garden as a model to build or to understand how things interact, So it's the same with ideas and concepts that we have. If we believe that something is stopping us from achieving the thing, oh, this work's stopping me from achieving my thing. Well, no, actually, you can look at it another way. You can say, well, you're earning a certain amount of money. You could put some of that money into achieving the thing that you want, right? Or enjoying yourself. So actually, the thing that you think is hindering you is actually helping you. So changing our mindset into a creative mindset, and this is something that I'm helping people to realize, teaching people, is okay, you don't have what you want now, but what do you have now that you really can be grateful for? Because if you can be grateful for that, then you can then create that feeling that you have. The feeling is the most important thing in manifestation. We can visualize, we can have mantras, we can have affirmations, but it's the feeling, because the feeling makes something real. Yeah. The theory of something is just a theory of it, but until you practice it and experience it, you can't have the feeling. So when we're manifesting, what we want to do is we want to create the picture that we want, whether that's a house, a partnership, going on holiday. We need to create that as vividly as possible. Once we've created that image, we start getting feelings, because we go from the conscious mind of all the senses that we don't have to the creation of it's there. I can imagine what that would be like. I can imagine it. I can see all the colors. I can hear the sounds. I can smell the fragrances, the people around me, the sunlight coming in wherever, the sunlight hitting your skin. You can feel that because you've experienced those things before. That's all you have to do. So when you create that feeling state, the feeling state then makes you grateful. When you're then grateful, your behavior changes, and your behavior then changing creates new opportunities, and those opportunities then lead you closer to your goal. I hope that was a good enough explanation there, George.
That was excellent because it's exactly on the lines that I'm thinking of. How we both just synchronized properly the last couple of years, definitely the last year, definitely the last 6 months, 1 month, 1 week, one day. It's incredible.
Yeah,
It's happening, There's so many, I love making notes, and I've written down a lot of what you're talking about. Number one is self concept. 100%, I agree with you. What you think about yourself, not what you think about yourself, what you truly think about yourself, because there's the honesty that comes into it. What you honestly think about yourself is directly proportionate to what you'll get out on the so-called outside world back to you. Yeah. And that's what I do. I specialize in self-love. It is, period. It is the most important thing in life. That self-talk. What are you saying to yourself? What are you complaining about to yourself? It's not easy. I still catch myself. I bring myself back into the present moment. This game isn't easy, but we live in a Godhead. It's already whatever we say, whatever we think and feel is gone boom straight into the Godhead. That's why in the Bible, ask, receive, you're already asking for it for whatever you're saying, and God's already received it. You are God, you've already received it. But it's about being in the receiving mode. You cannot be in the receiving mode if we're too busy complaining about what we haven't got. So this is what I do. I challenge people's erroneous belief structure. What is unconscious about them? What is the unconscious thoughts that they're having? And it's a good job to write things down. What have you been thinking about the last half an hour? What have you been thinking about the last 15 minutes? Find yourself. These are what unconscious blocks are, but you've got to, if you keep saying you've got unconscious blocks, you're going to stay in that state of being, and you'll find more experiences, and you'll go around in a circle. That's what I used to do myself. And I've stopped saying that. But the unconscious beliefs, what we really think, that's what we got to change, because it doesn't necessarily mean it's the truth. Belief, the word's got lie in it. You have to know in the present moment, because that's where God is, in the know, in the now. Now and know, very similar words. So, and I love that example. I love the example about the rose. The rose, once you understand what you've said about the rose, you understand really the essence of life. That is the whole point of existence. That rose is so beautiful. It just bees. It doesn't complain. Doesn't complain about the political system. It doesn't complain about the state of the world. It just is. And of course, people will say, you're not doing anything about it, all the corruption in the world. Well, we have to accept the word. I'll always go back to abracadabra. Whatever I speak, I create. So if we're saying this and we're saying this, we're saying this, we've manifested it in the 3D. That is the bitter truth and the bitter truth pill that everyone needs to swallow, because we're just going to get the same old thing. And that is the point of disconnection with nature. You're 100% correct. It's all about going from oneness to duality and coming back to the oneness, because what I've learned is the disconnection with nature had to happen, because it's a beautiful story to come back to oneness. Otherwise, there's no story to tell. Like I always say, you know, we can sit here for trillions of years being beautiful and just being. There's nothing that you'll learn from that. There is so much to learn and grow for your soul of going into that duality, dual, which is phonetically jewel. I tie myself to the jewel, and you come back to the oneness. But we've got to, I was writing an article yesterday reminding ourselves that there is something bigger at play. There is something bigger than the human self. And we have to really start to realize it now, that there is. We have interfered far too much. Hands up high. I have interfered far too much in this world. I have become so judgmental, and I've created that. I can't blame anyone. I put it in my consciousness. I can't blame Tom, Dick, and Harry for this. This is me, you know. And it's not easy for the ego mind to accept. But once you start accepting it, you've got the power back. You know, blaming everything on the outside, it happens all in here. Where did you get the thought from? Well, it's here. It's not there. It's in here. An old age concept that we live in a Godhead, and the Godhead is you. It's us. You know, so it's about self-realization. Everything that we do, we're watching ourselves. Whatever we're thinking about, we become that thing. We become whatever we think about. We're watching ourselves. I'm watching the laptop. We become that laptop because it's in the Godhead. I become the mobile phone. I become my jigsaw puzzle. It's in the Godhead. So you want to consciously create what you want to become. If you want to have a loving relationship, you've got to become that loving relationship. If you want to have a successful career, you have to become that successful career. But also we have to love where we are right here, right now. How do you really truly feel about in the position where you are in this life? Because if you secretly feel hard done by, if you secretly feel whatever you say to yourself, it's skin, it's hard, you're just going to create your experiences from that. That's what's going to happen. You know, you have everything that you've ever wanted in the here and now. And we have to change this thinking. We have to stop this negative thinking. And, you know, we have to refine tune what we want and how we feel about it in the present moment. Oh, I long to be over there. I long to be over there. That's what you're advertising to the universe. Yeah, that is what we are advertising. If we're negative about where we are, you have to love this present moment and where you are. There's nowhere better for you to be. You are meant to be here in this present moment. This present moment is where the Creator is. This is where pure love is, unconditional love, which is what we are. And then we put conditions and everything. Life, as Bashar said, life in itself is meaningless. It's what we give the meaning to, whether it's good or bad. We bring the meaning to it. So we can bring a bad feeling to Oh, I don't want to be in this world. Oh, I'm skinned, and all of this stuff. Or you can bring a loving experience in this present moment. I'm so lucky to be here in this present moment. I'm so lucky with the opportunities that are flowing to me in my life. I'm so rich. I'm so loved. I'm so abundant. I have a beautiful air that I breathe in. I have loving space. It's a very different energy. So go into alchemy, silver to gold. If you want the gold, you cannot continually think about the silver. You have to accept the silver, the conditions of what your present life is. You have to accept it, and you have to accept it lovingly. You accept that moment. If you're not accepting it, you're resisting. If you're angry about the world, you're resisting. So you accept the present moment. You can't change it, otherwise you create the conflict within. You accept the present moment, the silver, and you want the gold. Now you start thinking about the gold. Now you start thinking about where you want to be in the present tense. What's better than the present tense? Speaking in the past tense, I've always had the life that I've wished for. I have always been what I've always wanted to be. It's a very, very, very different energy that we give out. So I wanted to just reply back to all the things it was saying, John, because there's a lot more. But that's the way that I see it. Let's stop resisting. Look at the silver, alchemize, accept where we are, and then look at the gold and dwell in that state of consciousness.
So I wanted to say a couple things. The first thing is, why are we in the mess that we're in today? Collectively and individually, why are so many people suffering? Why is the world seem to be in the hands of people that don't have others' best interests at heart? Well, in short, we created it. We created, we've created everything as a collective race, species, Homo sapiens. We have created everything. And there's no coincidence that when the vibration of humanity lowers, and this isn't a dig at anyone, but look, when we forsake real community, yeah, or real love for validation on social media, and I'm not, social media is a tool, it can be very useful, yeah. But if we are not conscious that it is a tool and we see it as a way to get love, then we are creating something outside of ourselves, right? So we're relying on that thing to say who we are. The reason that we cannot, or we are in a situation where there are actions being taken or decisions being made that aren't aligned with the natural cycles is because we've forgotten who we are. Yeah. We're all one, as George was saying, but we all have individual expression. Once we believe we're all one, we can express ourselves individually without fear of judgment, without fear of being put down or not listened to. And we don't need the social media as much. The real relationships, or the relationships, one to one or in groups, become deeper, they become richer. So that was the first thing. And the second thing is about gratitude. If you are struggling to see all the good things in your life and you're focusing on the bad things, here's a little exercise for you. Every day, write down 100 things that you're grateful for. Yeah. You can just start off simple, just write down 100 things you're grateful for every day for a week. you can do a one up on that, and you can write down the things you're grateful for and why you're grateful for them. Because remember, we're always being hypnotized. Yeah. Every single day, we hypnotize ourselves with our words and our thoughts, our inner dialogue, our inner speech. And we also get hypnotized by, and it can be good, bad, or indifferent. We also get hypnotized by everything out there that we're projecting. Obviously, we're projecting everything out there, but all the feedback, the mirror, is also hypnotizing us. So why not hypnotize yourself consciously? Feel grateful. You can be in meditation, you know, think of all the things that you're grateful for. I'm looking around. I've got my altar over there. I've got a beautiful stained glass window that I can see. I can see my garden. I can see my cat. I can see some flowers on the desk. I've got this desk that I'm sitting on. I'm George, my good friend. We're able to communicate and support each other and empower each other and encourage each other. I've got this microphone that I can speak into so people can hear my voice clearly, you know. Um, so I think these little things are really important to remind ourselves. You know, if you go to a tribe in the Amazon, say, I always use this example, they don't have much, right? They have very few material possessions. But what they do have is a very, very strong concept of who they are and how they fit into everything, how they fit into the community. There are very few issues that they have, and they will probably, if a tribe meets a tribe, there might be some friction, etc. But that concept they have of themselves defines their world. It defines their survival, it defines their happiness, it defines how much food they'll get to eat, etc., etc. So that's really kind of the last thing I wanted to say, other than what I've been writing down each morning is I am that I am. So what I put is I'm grateful that I am grateful. I am loving that I am loving. Yeah. The I am is a very, we are, we say this to ourselves, I'm not good enough. Yeah. You, if you actually really become mindful of what you say to yourself, you will soon find a correlation between what you say to yourself and what you see out there. That it's so simple. And, to become more mindful, you have to probably practice something where you sit in a space and you can observe your mind and what it does, where it goes. But to remember this and to remind yourself every day. So if you do these exercises of gratitude, you become mindful of being grateful. And all the seemingly bad things actually become less, or they become less powerful. So I really encourage everyone to carry out these exercises because they're really powerful. They will change your life very quickly. And the more focused you are on doing that, on practicing these, the quicker your life will actually transform. And I know that all the opportunities that have come into my life, certainly in the last 15 years, more of them have been conscious than unconscious because I know, and sometimes I slip out of it, but I'm training myself, teaching myself to remember that, So that's my 2 pence worth, George.
That's great. That's great, man. I'm watching the time, but everything you've said is a nail on the head. We create everything. That's the crux of it. And I don't say that in a negative way. It's such an empowering thing to know. It's the biggest gift in life that we can ever know and find out is who we are, because it's one of the reasons why we've all suffered for is because we didn't know who we are, and we have all of this. I mean, that is the crux of it. We create absolutely everything, and it is why the world is the way that it is. And that's the first thing that I teach clients, why the world is the way that it is. I teach them etymology, and I break down the secret coding of our English language that tell us who we are and what we need to do. And all of these things that we have, the AI tools, we need to use it as just tools. They are there to serve us. They don't have to use us. AI doesn't have to use us. We're using all these things to create a better life, to create a better world. And gratitude is the key. It is the key that will open up doors for you. The present moment will open up doors for you. You are the key and you are the inner door. And you will open these treasures of life. There are a lot of, I agree that there is a lots of not great things happening, but it all comes from the creator, and the creator is perfect. Um, and our human selves can get in the way of that, but the creator is us, and we have always been perfect. And this is what we have come to realize here in the present moment. So thank you very much for listening, everyone.
George, I
And
just
we'll
need to
catch you in the
mention
next
one
one.
last thing. One
Let's go
last
for it.
thing,
Go for it.
George. Me and George have both just joined a platform called Skool, Skool. We're starting our own communities. Mine is called Permaculture Gardening, and George's is called One Light Coaching. Both going to be very inspiring, practical, spiritual, really tuning us. So we're going to put that in the description box below. So